Mrs. Norian, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Gladly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law Statement. All requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Oradell. Notice of this meeting was filed with the Record and Town News, and all persons requesting such notice. Mr. Darien, would you read the mission statement?
The Oradell Public School District is dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence through comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district is committed to providing opportunities for social, emotional, and academic discovery to foster curiosity, courage, and character. Our goal is to prepare our students to become lifelong learners who are self-directed, resilient, productive, responsible citizens.
Thank you. Roll call.
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta will not be here. Mr. Del Greco will not be here. Mrs. Downey.
Here.
Mrs. Norian.
Here.
Mr. Nutlin.
Here.
Mrs. Walker will not be in attendance, nor will Mr. Walsh. Mr. Darien.
Here.
Mrs. Nichols.
Here, seeing we have no one in the public, we'll move forward to the superintendent's report.
Good evening. To begin, I'd like to review some of the items on tonight's agenda. Item A2 is our annual school safety data submission identifying how many incidents of HIB training, restraint, and school culture programs occurred during the 23-24 school year. As a point of clarification for the board, anytime a block or hold is used as a means of physical restraint, parents do receive written notification. You will notice an increase in that number this year. I have delved more deeply into that to see how many students, and it is 2 students who had multiple incidents. Additionally, you will notice that we did have twice as many HIB investigations as past years. Our rate of founded HIBs continues to be 20% of all those investigated. Items A1 and A3 are annual submissions. Neither document has changed from prior years. Under personnel, you will notice the hiring of a new curriculum director. Ms. Cummings brings 20 years of classroom teaching experience, both in primary reading and middle school mathematics, 2 years as a math coach and 2 years as an instructional assistant principal with her to OPS. She began this week and jumped right in with our teachers on writing curriculum and has melded well with the team. Mr. Werner will be joining us next week, and our administrative team will be fully staffed at that time. With regards to our other summer projects, Summer Explorations has come to a close. 238 students participated in explorations this year. We will provide the Finance Committee with a closing report in the next few weeks. And before I close my report today, I want to take a moment to publicly thank Mr. Iapelli for the work he has done over the past month. Because things have been running so well, I think that the board may be not as aware that we continue to be understaffed in the board office. Our payroll coordinator will begin the first week in August. Mr. Iapelli has taught himself how to do payroll successfully enough that I have been paid, so I'm a happy superintendent. We are also transitioning a new accounts payable person in. This person did not come with experience, and he has also been spending his time transitioning her. I refer to him today as a one-man board office. And many people look at the business administrator role as overseeing. But to have somebody who can also step in and do all those tasks makes us a very lucky district. I don't have to be worried, and I am incredibly grateful for that. So thank you, Mr. Iapelli, and with that, I close my report.
Business Administrator's report.
It's been quite busy. So we are moving ahead with our construction projects. The roofing project, obviously, is right now on hold. If there's a 20% chance of rain, they don't come to do the project. We knew that when they came to start, so that will be a little bit on hold. We have the flooring of the stairwells that's started this week. And as Ms. Bosey said, the new hire in AP, she's doing very well. She's catching on quickly. So she will definitely be a major asset once she's up to speed. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to minutes. We have the review of June 26th and July 10th. Any questions or comments, please contact Mr. Iapelli. Moving on to approval of June 12th, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Downey,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes, moving to committee reports, Mr. Darian, would you take administrative items?
Yes, tonight we have 3 administrative items, A1 through A3. They were already reviewed by our superintendent. I'd like to make a motion to introduce these items.
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Norian, any questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Downey,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes, buildings and grounds, Mr. Darian.
Yes, we have a lot of items I'm going to review, so let's dive in. We had a building and grounds meeting, a subcommittee meeting. Let me get the date here, July 16th. We discussed quite a few things. The summer schedule for cleaning, from our understanding is we're on schedule with all the cleaning of the building. We have the roof work, that's dependent upon the weather, as Mr. Iapelli had mentioned. We have exhaust fans that are being, these are for the bathrooms, they're being installed. The stairwell renovation, we're still, we started last year, we're going to finish this year, and they're in the process of removing and preparing the treads. We had some recent HVAC issues. It seems like as soon as we get to 20 years, everything starts to fail. So, throughout the building, the rooftop units, we've had a compressor go, we had a motor go. So we've got, miscellaneous repair work that's undergoing during the summer. We have camera installation. I think on the update in the minutes, we have 19 more cameras and wiring being installed. The bathrooms, that was a big item people had discussed regarding the cleaning. We're scheduling deep cleaning of the bathrooms. We're also looking to do some minor enhancements where we can. So we already have an electrician. We've accepted a quote to do some lighting improvements in 2 of the bathrooms, and as well as general maintenance to the bathrooms. External projects, we were reviewing the watering schedule for the softball field, and we're increasing the watering frequency just to help improve the grass, regenerate, and we get less dust. Fencing, we're planning on putting more fencing on Center Street. There's a concern for safety when kids play outside during the day, and it would be nice if we extended the chain link fence all the way to the entrance to the center parking lot. The fence is going to be slightly different. It's not going to be an ugly chain link fence. It's going to be an aluminum nice fence with gates, but we're looking to have that done before school starts. We reviewed a guest management system. It's electronic. It's with our security system. It's an enhancement. It utilizes background checks. It utilizes driver licenses information. You enter your phone number. It captures your image. It puts it on a visitor badge, and we're trying to explore what is best for us. The bottom line is it has to be more efficient and than our current process, as well as give us some new features. And then we just talked about some general safety protocols of existing security, and I think that's about it. Did I miss anything? No, I don't. Nope, that's it. So with all of that, let me look at the schedule, or excuse me, the agenda. We have some facility use, and where's my notes? I find it interesting that on the 30th, we're going to have an event here. The borough is leasing out this auditorium so they can utilize the largest high-definition TV in all of Oradell to see the Olympics. So I think that's pretty cool. But with that, I'd like to introduce items B1.
And I'll second.
Any questions, comments? I have a question. On the email that we got for the sprinklers, were the sprinklers going they were already on and set? We were just
So,
confused from the email.
okay, so the grass was wet in all spots where those sprinklers should have hit it in the morning, and we walked it, and it wasn't just dew wet, like it was wet. We did try to clean the cameras. Rami went up on a ladder to see if we could see the cameras, but other than coming at 1:30 in the morning, I have to just go based on the wetness of the grass right now.
So now they're on every day?
Yes. We set it on Monday so that it would go on every day. It does have that little catch that if it rains, it won't go on.
I have another question. On Verkada, I was told this week by someone that Verkada is coming out with AI recognition for their swipe in and swipe out. I don't know if that's true. Is that true? It is true? So then we won't have to swipe in, swipe out, or put in our phone number, which is what we were talking about?
I'm trying to remember who brought that up to me today. I was talking to someone. We can follow up. What I did have Rami do is I called Monarch, who is our installation person, to tell them that the board wasn't happy that it didn't swipe out, and were there any other products that were available. There's really only one major competitor. There used to be two. It was LobbyGuard and Raptor Technologies, and Raptor Technologies bought LobbyGuard. They discourage us from going to Raptor instead. Rami called Bergen to ask them the same question. They also gave us Raptor as the option. They did offer the opportunity for us to go and look at Dumont, which
What
is
was
a
the objection to the Raptor?
the person I spoke to had concerns about the kiosk and the programming of the kiosk, and when there was a problem, it took it out for days and had to be reprogrammed. So are you going to have two, or are you going to have an alternate system?
Oh, okay.
So
If-
what I did, just as a possible in-between, I did ask them to re-give me a quote on Verkada, to give me a one-year quote and see what the cost of that is. So at least maybe we could put something in place while we continue to search
If
for other
Verkada goes
products.
to AI, would that not solve a lot of the issues we had?
I want to know how are they using the AI?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but if they did that, that would kind of resolve some of our issues, right, Greg?
Yeah, it's complicated. You know, you have right to privacy issues, you have data security issues. You know, we've seen cloud-based,
Things get hacked.
I said it all along, you know, well, actually, I didn't say it here, but I used to say it at work. You know, we moved all our applications into the cloud, and that's great on one hand. You know, we all have access to reports, and we all have access to customization. On the other hand, so does your competitors and people who are wanting to do industrial espionage and et cetera. So when we move to a security system like a visitor system, you know, how much data are we going to collect, and what happens if it gets compromised, you know? So, you know, that's a concern. I mean, ultimately, we have to make sure, and we're going to discuss this at the subcommittee. We've already discussed it in the past. You know, what works for us? I mean, what data do we need, you know, to effectively manage the visitors coming and going? We don't need to know everyone's, you know, who they're related to and their DNA and all of that stuff. So there's no point in, you know, looking for systems that give us that level of detail. But at the same time, you know, our current system needs improvement because it's not adequate. So, you know, we're kind of stuck, right, with these vendors. I don't know what it is with the school industry, but these.
It's remarkable that there's not more options, because this is an important aspect of school safety, and to have two vendors is kind of like,
It's crazy. I
Yeah.
just don't understand it. So we're still looking. We're still, well, you know, when we narrow down onto a solution, we'll let everybody know.
Yeah.
Also, can Mr. Iapelli give us an update on the stairwell, since You had texted me, and then he was going to email B&G, but I don't think we got anything today.
We were going to wait until we actually had more information tomorrow, but we can give that today if you prefer.
Yeah, you could tell the board what's going on with the stairwells.
Yes, so the stairwells, last year when they did the stairwell project, when they pulled off the other treads, the landing, when they pulled those off the landing, the tiles stayed in place and did not come up. Now, the tiles are coming up and crumbling, which now they become friable because they do have an asbestos content. So it looks like now we're going to have, we're going to confirm and get the numbers, but it's going to need to be a full abatement, which will take that number that we did have for cleaning and abating at 18,000. I'd imagine it's going to be significantly more, but we don't have that number yet. It is all 4 places, so when they must have different adhesive this time around as opposed to the last time, but they are crumbling, and that's an issue.
Are they doing something differently, considering none of them did it last year and all of them are crumbling this year? Like, it's kind of odd that we had none of this,
But
and they were kind of
they could have
laid
been
at the
done
same
at different
time.
times, and that was the adhesive they used on one set, and
It's kind of odd.
We did ask Paul to watch at each stairwell because I thought it was odd that one of the stairwells, which to me is most like the other 4, the H stairwell,
Yeah.
I would link of the same age as these original hallway stairwells, but he watched at all 4, and it happened with all 4.
Wow. About how big of an area are we talking about?
It is just the landings.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not the actual treads of the stairwells. And they were able to do the stairwells in the hallway, so if you came in through the board lot today, they were able to do those stairwells. They were able to do the really small stairwell outside the gym area. They were able to do the stairwell, there's like 5 stairs to the 3rd grade wing.
Yep.
Those were all fine because there was
Different
no
adhesive.
landing. It's
Right,
just the tread.
Any other
I-
question? Oh.
Yeah, are we maybe considering putting carpet, in the landings? I mean, we did that instead, just covering it with carpet instead of pulling up the ACT tile or VCT tile, whatever it is.
I think the concern I would have there, like you could do that on the way in, but would you want to do that outside the library on
No,
that major
no.
landing?
So these are relatively small areas, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't see, I think last summer, I think they put up plastic barriers and all of that, right? So,
Until they test it.
yeah,
yeah.
so they can just do it again. I mean,
They do-
I don't
there's-
think this is
there-
going to be,
It's a different, with the EPA, like, there's a different process we have to go through in terms of a permit, I was told, and things like that. So
How
that's
long-
why I was waiting
how
until
long-
tomorrow to find out the exact plan.
so they don't know, they didn't give you approximate timeline?
We literally learned this at 10 o'clock this morning, and when they left the site and said, we can't do any more, we have to send photos of what occurred today.
I have a couple of questions since our last B&G meeting. So we had the fans, they were being installed, right? Are they completed?
No.
No. So how far along are we in those?
With this application and payment, that's just for 53%, but they're further along than that. The question is, there are 4 fans, or 3 or 4 fans that need to be in place, but it's connected to the roofing project. So the roofers are going to remove the fans,
Oh, I
but
see.
they have to put them on. So right now, it can't be completed until, they're way ahead of where the roofing project is.
Okay.
So right now, that coordination is the issue.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on the fans before you move?
Yeah, that's fine.
They replaced the fans by the multipurpose room bathrooms? Or not yet?
Yeah, nothing is functional. They're still tying in. They're still, on the control side, they're still minimal process. They're not anywhere near there. The actual installs are way ahead of the tying it in and the controls.
I have a question, Peter, also. We had I think this was, I don't know where I read it. Was it in an email? I know that we went out to bid for the HVAC and the rooftop unit for the kindergarten wing.
Correct.
And I think at our last B&G meeting, we just talked about getting some bids back, but we didn't know how much they were, right? Not
Right,
then?
that was the bid opening. Right now, it's with our attorney. He's
Right.
reviewing
So
for
it's-
completion.
so now
The
that-
number I gave you and what I sent, that's where we are dollar-wise.
Right.
He's now going to see that everyone is responsive, and he'll sign off that.
This is land.
Well, Land reviewed it. They believe right now these are the lowest responsible bidders.
Uh-huh.
But then we send it to our attorney to review,
Uh-huh.
to make sure all the paperwork is in order.
Yeah, so is there a way that, we can have like a second opinion on, like an engineer look at the equipment?
They did. The
And they-
engineers came out.
And they agreed that it must be repaired this year?
That one, that's the why we went out. That's the one that has the serious issues. And, we're just putting Band-Aids on it now to get it through the summer, because we've
Yeah,
had to
see-
put some money into that.
What's killing me is that, the bids I think were high, it's a lot of money just for one unit. And I was thinking maybe if we could wait a year, because this year everyone's doing the work and
The-
the scarcity is driving up prices. And if there's a way we could let this slide until next summer, but that's not an option?
You're also still going to see projects, because just
Yeah.
because people got ROD grants doesn't mean they're doing them this summer. Because think about it, they couldn't go out to bid until they got their ROD grant, right?
So,
So you're talking probably not even just next summer, the summer after that, there's still going to be high demand.
for HVAC work?
Absolutely.
And our HVAC contractor that we have on site, he didn't bid on it because it was just one. He decided that, they have so much work, even though they're here, because of the timing, they're not going to come back to do just one.
How much square footage is this one covering? This is one unit?
It's
How much
one
square
unit.
footage,
Well, it does all the kindergarten classrooms.
which is what?
I don't know the square footage off the top of my head.
It does the hallway there?
Not the hallway, the classroom.
So 5 classrooms?
5 classrooms.
And each classroom is approximately how many feet by how many feet?
I don't know, but they're using the unit that is necessary to cool that space and heat that space. I mean, the engineers designed it for that space. It's not
Like
too big, it's not too small.
4,000 square feet for $200,000? Seems like, do we know what we used to pay for these? Like, is it just that everything is crazed? It's like 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, maybe
But the last
not.
time you did the project was 20 years ago,
I
so
know,
I
but
don't
if
know
you-
what the
if-
prices are.
Yeah, but if you did a 10,000 square foot home, which I know it's different units and stuff, you do a 10,000 square foot home, you're not paying $150,000. Like, we're talking about heating and cooling, 4,000 square feet, maybe? It's $200,000.
Yeah, and to make it worse, it's a replacement. It's
Doesn't
not
that seem like a lot?
a new install, so the wiring and the location is already there. But
Yeah, like everything's there, they just had to drop a unit in.
I don't know, everything is getting so expensive.
Can we do a call with Land at some point in B&G?
Sure. We could
wanna
set
do that?
something up and
Sure.
you could
I
talk
mean,
to the.
I'll talk to him.
Everything.
Your mic. Actually, Chris, I think it's the heat exchanger is the issue. It's rusty,
Right.
so. Yeah, so
Right.
they're gonna replace the entire box.
Right. It just does seem like a lot.
Yeah.
There were 6 bidders, so, they were the lowest, bidders that were much higher, too.
Yeah, from 100 to 200, 300,000.
It's great to bid to public entities in New Jersey because
I'd love to be.
It's
if I can get
unlimited
on that call,
funds.
too.
But everything done is at
I think so.
prevailing wage, so the electricians on the job, they have to do it at the prevailing wage. That's like $165 an hour.
But how many
Right.
days are they going to be here?
But the dollar that they have to use are significantly more than anything that you could possibly think. You could look at the prevailing wage rates are off the charts. We're talking like $165 an hour for an electrician.
Right. But how
So-
many days are they going to be here? And how many people are going to be here? It's still, it's $200,000.
You could just say you don't want to do the project. I mean, I don't know what we do next year with the heat and the air conditioning. I mean, I don't know what the alternative is.
What do you think, Greg?
I'd like to, we'll talk about it at the subcommittee. It would be nice just to get someone on a call and see if we have options. If we don't have options, then we have to bite the bullet, and we can say that we were backed into the corner and we had to spend, I don't know, whatever the bids were going to be. What? I think the cheapest was 110,000. Was that right, Peter? I can't recall.
No, it's 199,000, and then there's the cleaning that they recommended for the
Okay.
ductwork. He said not to put the, they didn't recommend, because I guess on some of the units, there's like a screen that goes around it,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
incredibly high. So,
A visual screen you're talking
yeah,
about?
to like, because we do have them on some of the
Yes.
units, so that was an option in
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
I don't think, you can't see that, I don't even know if you could see that unit from anywhere, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so, bottom line is, if we have to spend $200,000 to replace one rooftop unit.
There's 6 more of the same age.
Yeah, please. Don't, s-
the same size, but the same age.
don't say that, you're gonna jinx us. So, if we're, the point that I think I'm trying to make right now is, if we're gonna spend $200,000, I want to, on one unit, I want to expend any option, and be redundant in our efforts to make sure that we have to do it, and there is no other way that's cheaper. And if that's the case, if that's what they tell us, like, hey, wake up, this is 2024 and blah, 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 and, inflation and whatever, if that's what they say, that's what they say. And if,
That's what they said before we went out to
and then we,
have 2 contractors plus them look at it.
and then we could say, we tried everything, right?
I don't think they're going to change.
That's
their
fine.
opinion from, that's why we went out to bid in the first place, because we had 2 HVAC. Two HVAC contractors come in, they gave their recommendations that it needed to be replaced. Then we had Land come with their mechanical engineer, they reviewed it and said it needed to be replaced. So we did, beforehand, we did exhaust looking at contractors, getting an engineer opinion, and they were all on the same page. That's why we went out to bid to start with, because there were no options for that one, that one has an issue. And if it's also giving heat, there's nothing to say that now we get to the winter and we have heat issues. And then, AC right now, we had issues with that, so we're putting money into the unit as Band-Aids to get it through the summer. And I think a bigger concern may be, heat for kindergarten classrooms.
Because we've been Band-Aiding classrooms with Airedales with window air conditioners. Like, we could put a window air conditioner in those rooms to get us through cooling.
but
We can't with
Look,
heat.
Airedales and window air conditioners are two different things. They're not synonymous. So let's just talk about this in subcommittee. We'll just put another nail in the coffin, and then we'll write a check. But in the meantime, I think there's a little bit of queasiness about the 200K, that's all.
Any other questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Downey,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes, curriculum, Mrs. Norian?
Yes, we're attempting to set up our meetings. We have 2 that we're working on setting up. I don't know that they've been
We're going to move forward with
certified.
July 14th and July 28th.
August, I
sorry.
was going to say July
Yes.
14th, I think that already passed.
August 14th and August
Okay.
28th.
Okay.
Finance, Mr. Darian, would you take that?
Yes, we haven't had a finance meeting recently, so there's no minutes to review. So I'd like to introduce items D1 all the way through D13.
And I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Norian. Any questions?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Can we just quickly walk through D9 through D11? I know that these are partial payments on projects, just to, yeah.
I have the payments here.
Okay,
So, not a problem. So, first payment, Patman, that was $14,700. That entailed their performance bond, their submittals, and David Pereira from LAN reviews everything, copies me, and then signs off on these, that everything is a legitimate cost. So there was the retainage, so that was just the $14,700. The
Wait,
next-
wait a second. Can you say what that was for again?
Bond and all the paperwork, their submittals that they put in,
That Pittman is putting in?
that Patman puts in.
Okay.
and the land expenses.
And land, because,
Not land, this is just Patman's
well,
work.
that's why I question you, because you're talking about land.
Well, land signs off on it.
Oh,
Okay.
They sign off on all of the payments
Okay.
prior to. The next one is, this is where they're actually doing their work. So Patman, this is 53% of the project in total after the second payment. So demolition work, that's 95% complete, $19,000. Exhaust fan materials, those are all on site, that's $50,000. Ceiling opening and closing of the floor, that's 30%, that's $4,500. Exhaust fans, labor, $45,000, they're 75% complete on that. Power and wiring, 50%, $12,500. The control work, ATC, this is the tying into the Metasys building management system. That's only 10% of the way, and that's $7,000. So that equals the $153,000, and there's the retainage. And so the payment due is $135,240.
and then Mac Group, what are they doing? I forgot. I don't remember.
Mac Group is doing the roof work. They've only submitted, they haven't submitted all the paperwork required to get signed off for application 2. So they held themselves up from not getting paid. This is just a initial payment, and it's essentially their bond and insurance for $23,500. And that's all. That's just the retainage. So they have done work, but they haven't submitted the proper the proper paperwork required to get paid for their actual construction work that they've done.
Okay,
And I've seen the correspondence back and forth with David Pereira and Mac keeps missing something in the submittal. They don't submit all the invoices because they need to see all the invoices of all the materials, everything stored on site. David Pereira has also come back, and he has taken pictures, and he verifies the material is on site. So he's not satisfied with what has been submitted, so that's why there's no payment number 2.
okay.
I have a question on D12. Unless I missed it, I didn't see the financial reports. Can I like to balance them out? So
That needs to be,
so if we don't have them, we should remove
Yeah.
this.
we could take that, that's not there, sorry about that.
So then, any other questions, or you want to ask?
Do you have any questions?
I'm going to re-amend my,
Yeah, well, let me look and see. So you want to make a,
I'll amend my
Re-amend
motion.
it?
Yeah, I'd like to introduce items D1 through D11 and D13.
And I'll second again.
Thank you.
so any questions now? Call the question?
On the roll, Mrs. Downey,
Yes.
Mrs. Noria,
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes, personnel. Mrs. Norian, would you like to take that?
Yes, you have a copy of the personnel report in your packet. And with that, I would like to move on F1.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Darian. Any questions? have a question. For science of reading, we're sending 4 people. Is there a way is there a reason we picked these 4 people, or?
We're not sending them. That person is coming here, and we are training as many people as we can. So that's a second group of people. We have 14 people overall who will be attending the training. Actually,
Were they on the last agenda? Is that why? Okay.
2 of the individuals won't be being paid because they are in their first year of, they're not yet association members.
So how many people are training in total?
It's either 14 or 16.
And then how's the rest of them going to get it?
We'll have to turnkey it at some point during the school year.
Any other questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Downey,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes, delegate report. Anything, Mrs. Norian, for delegates? No, right?
No, nothing.
Okay. Policy, Mr. Del Greco is not here. Mr. Nutlin, anything from policy? He texted me earlier that we had to set a meeting.
No, there's a few things that we're working on, but,
Okay, I guess we have to set a meeting. And public relations, Mrs. Downey?
So we've reviewed the survey results, and we probably should have a meeting.
Yeah, we should talk about how we want to present them, if we want to
Yeah.
present them, how. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no one's here from the public, so any old or new business? Mrs. Norian?
I had sent a message to Peter and Mr. Iapelli, and I figure he must have been pretty busy. And it was just that I get hounded a little bit if Oradell hasn't registered for workshop yet, and I wondered if we were going to be registered.
Since we've only had, I sent out an email and I was going to follow up again. You were the only one responded that you wanted to go.
Oh, okay.
So then to pay for the group rate is $2,100, but if you had fewer people attending, it would be cheaper to pay individually. So I was just waiting to see
Oh,
the
okay.
difference on how many people were attending compared to the group rate. Because say there's just 4 people, that is cheaper than paying the full amount.
So how many are going? 3?
Right now, only Mrs. Norian has confirmed.
But does the 4 people include you?
No, I didn't.
the
I
superintendent?
don't have any people right yet. I only have Mrs. Norian right now. No one else
Okay.
has said if they're interested. And I was going to send out another email.
Because things sell out. I mean, the hotels sell out and stuff,
Yeah.
right? So we got to do it. I mean, in the
but like-
meantime, do you think you can make Mrs. Dorian a reservation where she wants to stay, and then if we have to swap it to do something else? Is
Well,
that possible?
This is not necessarily where the where the hotel registration is. It's just to register for the convention itself. Because I'm on the county board, they asked me to check into the stats because they noticed that Oradell was not registered.
I know, but what about your hotel reservation?
Well, I figure that'll work out.
As it gets closer, you can't
Yeah.
get, All right, well, just deal with Mr. Iapelli.
Okay.
Any other business? Anything? Any need to go into a closed session? All right. Mrs. Norian, want to take us out?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Good. So Mrs. Norian, Greg, good. Oh, I did have old business.